A no-hit run is sort of the ultimate challenge. Being able to beat a From Software title without taking any damage from any enemy is truly a daunting task indeed. But can you do it without actually being good at the game? Well, the answer to that is yes and no, but more yes actually. I'll wager that a good guide for Dark Souls can mostly trivialize all of the difficulties surrounding this challenge. But you gotta focus for that, as the strategies I'm about to show you are highly optimized around a magic build that shreds bosses into oblivion faster than a bat out of hell. So, try not to blink, pull out your notebooks, and let's get started with this one. Another day, another visit to the Undead Asylum. I've seen this place way too many times over the course of time that it took to practice this run. But you don't need to know about it one. The walkthrough here is really quite straightforward. Just remember to shank these two idiots and you'll be good to go. Of course, we picked the Sorcerer class at the start, with the Master Key, as that will allow us to later skip quite a few areas that otherwise would be hard to navigate. What's really cool about this run in particular is that I get to immediately show you the true power of magic. This strat against the Asylum Demon should be considered bullying if you ask me, especially with how easy it is to accomplish. As long as you make sure to roll the demon's jumping attack a bit later, there is quite literally nothing that can go wrong here. This skill sets the stage perfectly to what the rest of the run is gonna look like. I am pretty sure that over the course of the entire game, you'll only need to learn about 10 or so attacks from all the bosses combined to beat them damageless. Yeah, magic is very balanced, I know. Once the birdie drops us off in Firelink, we immediately waste no time and pick up the secret items hidden behind the elevator shaft. Both the Homeward Bones and the Lloyd's Talismans are very important for later sections of the game. We also want to remember to level up our intelligence to 17. As for why, will be apparent very soon after. With all of those goodies in hand, we make our way into the Valley of the Drakes, and so begins our first major running section. See, no-hit runs are of two types, the ones that have difficult bosses, and the others that have difficult paths to said bosses. Dark Souls fits firmly into the latter of those two. Bosses in this run are almost like a reward after the running sections, with one major exception later on. Ironically, what makes this run hard is the amount of knowledge needed of all the enemy placements and their AI behavior. Once that is acquired, this challenge is a cakewalk. After gracefully making our way to the bonfire, we are faced with our first Black Knight, who we bait out near the cave entrance, get him to do his backtracking animation, and then we zigzag and plunge onto this cliff formation. From here, we just have to wait for him to give up on life, so we can get his souls and acquire the Grass Crest Shield. The shield boosts our stamina regeneration massively, which in DS1 is a big deal as stamina regenerates at a snail's pace. Though weirdly, sorcery doesn't actually require any stamina to be cast. It's not like sorcery needed really another reason to be overpowered, but here we are, I guess. After we respectfully dodge all the rest of the drakes in the valley, we climb up the MGS ladder and collect the most powerful item in the game, the Red Tearstone Ring. It boosts our damage by 50% when on low HP. I don't think anything else needs to be said here. From this point, we just need one more item before we can go and face our first major boss. We slowly make our way up the Undead Burg, while clearing out all the enemies on our path. Cause if they're dead, they cannot hit us. Also, remember to shift this guy. Once we have successfully made our way to the merchant, we buy off of him 4 Lloyd's Talismans and 8 firebombs that we need for later, and then proceed to give him the 3-piece and a soda. His greedy ass sells the key we need for way too much, but if he is dead, we can get it for free. We are now gonna perform one of the wildest tricks I've ever had the pleasure to learn in these games. We make our way to the ladder near the bridge. From here, we arrow shot cancel onto the ledge down below. Now we aim somewhere around here on this rooftop and perform 5 arrow cancel backsteps to assume the appropriate position. We equip the broken straight sword hilt and then do a normal attack followed by repeated spams of that same attack to phase through the wall and land exactly on this rooftop. I call this the wiggle skip. Whatever you do, do not move from the spot. We want to bait the doggos below into a warm fireplace of dead bodies over there, so we can start our own barbecue session. Best way I found to do this is to just shoot arrows all the way to the right and behind the fireplace, with some adjustments here and there. Once the doggos are nice charcoal briquettes, we drop down, perfectly set up our RTSR, and proceed to throw 2 firebombs into this gate and then 2 additional firebombs into that far gate over there. Now we just need to trigger the last assassin in hiding and slowly creep ourselves into position to kill him in one hit. This is why we needed to level our intelligence to 17, by the way, cause he otherwise wouldn't have died immediately from one shot. The reward for doing all of that is our homeboy Griggs, who has a lot of goodies we desire. I won't be explaining all the strategies with this much detail moving forward, but this one is such a treat, I just couldn't resist and had to give it some love. With Griggs back at Firelink now, we can finally start hunting some bosses. Interestingly, before we touch anything else, we first want to make our way into the paradise of Blighttown. We have something special in mind for the Spider Queen residing there. A couple of dead mosquitoes and some Olympic firebomb throws later, we crawl our way through the swamp and into her lair. After our RTSR is set up from the poison damage, we dive straight in. Alright, gotta focus, gotta look in. Booba Lady can definitely kill the run. Of course we get that fucking bullshit attack, because of course... Oh, this is easy now. Oh, this is a beautiful... Okay, we got bad RNG at the start, but then we finally got good RNG, so I can't complain.
All of this just works.
Don't wiggle. No wiggling, please. Bye-bye. Not gonna lie, she's hot. Yeah, everybody says that. Right in the chest. Yeah, that stunlock strat is really quite amusing. I'd recommend using a keyboard and mouse for this one though, because it can be really hard to properly free aim at her chest with a controller. Well, that's the first bell of Awakening rung, but we're still not done with this fiery hell. We continue onwards into the Demon Ruins to face yet another boss in the form of Ceaseless Discharge. Everybody and their mother should be familiar with what I'm about to perform here. Aggro Ceaseless, don't let him spit in your face, make your way to the fog gate, and then give him also the 3-piece and a soda. Night night, fiery demon, hello and welcome another 20k souls. One thing I forgot to mention. A key part of this adventure was not to grab any bonfires down here, so we can now just bone out of this place and quickly return to Firelink with a pocket full of cash. We'll use that cash immediately to buy the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring, as well as the spell Heavy Soul Arrow. The ring boosts our damage by another 20%, mind you. With that, we are off for the Undead Church. Getting past these areas safely is just a matter of patience and agility, as well as a clever use of our bow and firebombs. There are a ton of little details here on how to perform a lot of these maneuvers correctly, but if you really want to attempt this, I'd recommend watching my full run over on my VOD channel, as well as joining the Team Hitless Discord. The folks over there can help with pretty much any problem you might have. In any case, once we successfully bomb our way through the Legion of Hollows, we are faced with the double dildos, as I like to call them. It's easy, don't do anything. Thank you. Into the cock, and let's continue. Gotta love those sweet sorceries for this run. The Heavy Soul Arrow always staggers the gargoyles, allowing you to safely do a follow-up with Great Soul Arrow for an easy kill. Together with that completely normal amount of damage, yeah, they're more of a nuisance than a boss fight for us. Ring-a-ding-ding, second bell down, and now our path takes us into Sen's Funhouse. Unfortunately, this part does take a bit of practice to nail down. The entire run through here is timing based, so you pretty much always know where the dangers are and how to avoid them. The jankiest part is definitely the second pair of saw blades that are guarded by an electric snackman. God, do I hate this place. And of course, the boulder section always manages to send shivers down my spine. Every person does this section a bit differently depending on what they're comfortable with doing, so it does take a couple of practice runs through here to find what you're comfortable with. I personally make a bit of a detour here to stop by our boy Asmongold in his basement. And here our previously bought Lloyd's talismans finally get a moment to shine. If you hit any mimic 7 times with those talismans, by the end of it, you will always be awarded with the symbol of avarice. This item has 2 meanings for us. First, it gives us a 20% boost to soul acquisition, but more importantly, it drains our health ever so slightly. Why is that important, you may ask? Well, it's so that we can set up our red tearstone ring easier without having to rely solely on fall damage, which can get tricky sometimes. From here, we go back, free our boy Logan, murder a ton of snackmen for safety, and slowly make our way to the top of Sen's. I swear Sen's is probably the most cursed place ever made. Now we have to perform another Metal Gear operation to acquire the second to last key item that will allow us to optimize this run to the fullest. The snacks here can be easily fooled with a couple of arrows and gravity, so that we can always have a safe path to whatever section of the castle we desire. You'll see that as a constant theme throughout this run, not just here. For this particular section, our end goal is the slumbering dragoncrest ring. This ring silences our footsteps so that no enemies can hear us. Together with a later item, it will allow us to become truly invisible. But for now, we ready our lightning spear, set up our RTSR, and get ready to face the iron golem. 3 heavy attacks from the spear always stagger the golem, and if he doesn't fall off, you can always massage his groin with some good old soul arrows. Just make sure to go back to Firelink after the fight to visit Big Hat Logan, cause we need from him the spell Homing Soul Mass, which will be the centerpiece of our next couple of tricks. Also, remember not to grab any bonfires. You don't want to make that arduous journey through Sens a second time, trust me. Now, without any further hindrance, we make our way to the City of the Gods. Anor Londo can be best described as a death trap for any normal playthrough. But since we are not doing a normal playthrough, we of course have solutions to all of its problems. The rafter section can be easily brushed aside with the utilization of stealth and the abuse of the brain-dead AI of the Painted Guardians here. I mean, you give these guys any excuse to jump from a building and they will immediately take it 100% of the time. After then slowly parkouring our way around, we kill a dildo from a spot where it cannot hit us, slay some ugly-ass demons, and gently walk our way to the notorious Silver Knight archers. This is the first instance where the spell Homing Soul Mass comes into play. With some clever arrow shenanigans, we can safeguard ourselves from the archer on the left, and with the help of Soul Mass, we only need to look to the archer on the right, before we send his ass straight into the Shadow Realm. 12-year-old Toto would marvel with magnificence if he could see the strats that you could always have done to get through this place. Sadly, this knowledge wasn't available in 2012. The rest of the keep is pretty dormant, all things considered, and with a nifty staircase skip, we approach the hardest boss when it comes to Dark Souls hitless runs. Bad RNG. We're gonna have this situation again, I guess. This is by far the safest plan you can adopt for these guys. All it requires is patience, and even more patience, to be honest. Also, rule number 1 of hitless runs: never trust the Soul Mass. That shit loves to betray you more than that cheating ex-girlfriend of yours. The key here is to get O and S to walk side by side, with Orenstein in front, so that you can bait an attack from him and punish appropriately. Let's go! Fuck yes! Thankfully, once phase 1 is through, Smo's fat ass just can't overcome the puzzle of a pillar and can easily be grinded down into the pavement of Anal Londo. Once you manage to get to this point of the run, you have pretty much passed all the random bullshit that this game can throw at you. Well, maybe except for the last one, the catacombs. Greatest obstacle down. As long as I calm myself now, center myself, open all my chakras, and suck Miyazaki's dick, we're gonna be good. Before we venture into that bony abyss, we first gotta make sure to get deep-throated by Fremt, the greatest deep-throater in the land. Once the Lord Vessel is in place, we hop back and buy from Logan the spell Soul Spear, which is our second most important spell of the run. The entrance to the catacombs cost me more runs than I care to count at this point. But as long as you pay attention and make sure that both of the skeletons on this ridge die with the arrow bait, you'll be as safe as a sack of puppies, I promise. The third skelly gets flanked with some stealthy magic spam, and then we just gotta say, surprise motherfucker, to the first pyromancer that guards this place. And voila, our first bonfire. Unsurprisingly, there is another pyromaniac here that likes to fuck around a lot, so we need to take his ass out with some careful positioning, as well as all the other skeletons at the start. Once that's done, we distract the skeletons below with an arrow, and plunge onto the lower section of the ravine to skip most of the catacombs easily. I don't think I really need to commentate on how the pinwheel fight goes for this one. Pretty sure that's going to be very much self-explanatory. The scary part of this section is not the boss. It is 100% the path to the second bonfire, as you are going to be blind as a bat throughout. Fear not though. As long as you follow the exact path that I'm showcasing here, you'll be fine 99 out of 100 times. Always just remember the wise words from Daddy Ishin: hesitation is defeat. Once we have successfully located the bonfire, we take a boot from Patches and recover the Skull Lantern. Usually, you would use this lantern to light your way forward throughout the rest of the Tomb of the Giants. But in our case, we are taking that bitch straight back to the Undead Asylum. Why? Cause if we trade this item with Snuggly the Baby Crow, we will be rewarded with a Ring of Fog. which turns us partially invisible. Together now with our slumbering ring, we are able to achieve maximum safety for the rest of the running sections in this challenge. See what I mean? Optimized hitless runs always force you to play this game like it's a stealth action game, which is just a really cool way to play this game in my opinion. Back at Firelink, Logan decided to go and search for more powerful spells, so he left all he knew to his student. That now makes Griggs sell another copy of Soul Spear, which we happily buy, cause that gives us a total of 8 shots with that spell. Locked and loaded, it's high time for the most magic-resistant part of Lordran. Well, I guess this is going to be the perfect place to prove if sorcery is worth all that glazing. Though most of this place is going to be niftily skipped with a trick that does require a bit of practice to pull off consistently. But first, we just want to avoid and kill a few of the enemies that reside here, before we commit and make a run for the main elevator. Here, I'll perform a skip known as the Archive skip. By orienting ourselves with a bow, and then rolling right forward back of the moving elevator, we can position ourselves in such a way that if timed correctly, we can roll off and land on this exact balcony. This effectively skips most of the archives, making for an easy access to the hidden gate and the subsequent bonfire. Now, I'll admit, the skip is not the easiest thing to pull off. I just like it because I also speedrun this game. Going all the way around is a lot less risky, but it's also quite boring. In any case, from here we only have one goal in mind, that goddamn tentacle dragon. The crystal caves are mostly a non-issue, just don't get careless, and that goes for any section. Miyazaki senses if you get careless, and the game will punish you, trust me. To the cock! Cock shots! Yup. This is a highly magic-resistant boss, by the way. I heard Demon Soul sorceries are even more OP than these ones, so I honestly can't wait to start preparing that run as well. With Sieve's defeat, Logan finally shows up at the archives and becomes a bit mental. So after we buy both the crystal spells we need from him, we, kill him, and acquire the most powerful staff in the game, the Tin Crystallization Catalyst. Say that 3 times fast. Now our damage starts to become transcendental. Fuck you! Ah, yeah, very well balanced game, Miyazaki, yes. Next up on our list is Gravelord Nito, which means we gotta pass through the Tomb of the Giants. Going into that blackened hell might seem like a daunting task at first, but once you realize that you have the Dark Souls equivalent of a nuclear bomb in your right hand, you'll be a-okay. So, after blowing all the skeletons here to smithereens, we maneuver ourselves roughly to this spot right here and walk straight to the archer skeleton, from where we just take a drop down and rush toward the light. A couple more magic shots and a bit of running later, and we finally enter Nito's fog gate. I am so fucking nervous, chat, it's actually insane. Oh, I don't remember the last time I was this nervous. Pro tip, whenever he tries to thrust his greatsword into your butthole, you just gotta block with a 2-handed weapon. This changes your model in such a way that he always misses with that attack. Pretty cool, huh? Gravelord Karen, chat, he's still Will we be here forever? We might. Finally. Took you a while. Took you a fucking while, Naito there. We are now left with only one last tricky section. After that's conquered, we are mostly in the clear. Of course, I'm referring to the new Londo ruins. And if you ever played this game, you'll know why this place sucks donkey dick. All the ghosts here, thankfully, do die in one hit, but there is still a lot you need to know to pass through this place safely. On the first bridge, you gotta make sure that you bait out the 4 ghosts that hide themselves here. From here, we make a dash to the second bridge and arrive just under the NPC that holds the key to our further progress. We do not want to climb the building to get to him though, because that's way too dangerous. So instead we just blast him a couple of times from below and receive the key we need. After them performing some marginally precise maneuvers around the last ghost bro, we open the gate, release the flood doors, and uncover the boss arena. The strategy for the kings is quite simple, yet not so easy to pull off under pressure. They are the second hardest boss in this run after all. You want to make sure you hit them with 2 crystal soul masses before you then step in and blow your load all over their stupid faces. How's life been, chat? I can stay here all day, or I can actually take the plunge. At some point, you just gotta bite the bullet, chat. Don't purple jizz me. Oh, that's actually nice. That's perfect RNG. Haven't gotten this beautiful RNG in a while. Fuck you! We are going to Bed of Chaos. Alright, gotta stay calm here. Now comes a very dear part of the run for me personally, which is blasting Patches straight off a cliff. His corpse gives us several humanities so that we can finally get our desired 30. And now it's back to Blighttown. Sadly, since we never grabbed a single bonfire there, we gotta make that trek back there again. But thankfully now with our invisibility, it's a pretty safe walk overall. The fruits of our labor do very much pay off, cause after we deliver those aforementioned 30 humanities to the third Booba lady, we gain the ability to skip not one, but 2 whole-ass boss fights, making the path to the Bed of Chaos significantly easier. Just make sure on the path over there to kill everything in sight. The enemies here tend to be astoundingly janky even for Dark Souls standards. After a long walk down into the heart of Izalith, we are faced with the Bed of Chaos. By far the easiest way to deal with it is to just say to hell with this parkour bullshit and just utilize the firebomb cheese. By throwing 2 well-aimed bombs, we can trigger phase 3 without ever risking a single gravity death. And now you have 2 choices. You can either say YOLO and run into the belly of the beast hoping for the best, or you can stand by this tree stump, wait for the firebird above to fly up without crossing its arms, that's very important, and then dodge the fire pillars on the ground by walking down the branch. That is the only attack that can hit you if you enter the belly too soon. But that attack cannot happen twice in a row, so after you dodge it once, you are 100% safe to enter and stomp on that stupid bug. We are going to win! We are going to fucking win, chat! We're going to win! Oh, I'm gonna die. IRL. At this point, my heart was racing like a motherfucker. All that stands between me and victory is one dying old man and one measly parry. After a lot of shooting and a lot of blasting, we clear out all the Black Knights, approach the fog gate, ready our soul spears, and enter into the kiln of the first flame. The problem is, chat, I'm gonna die even if I win the run. Like, I'm die of happiness, probably. It's now or never. I can sit here the entire day. At one point, I just need to take the plunge. Channel your inner Alex Pereira. Shama. Fucking Shama. Yes! Oh! Fucking let's go! I can't believe it, honestly. Oh my god. Fucking 2 months of work. 2 months of fucking work. Breaking news. Local naked man parries giant flaming greatsword with his bare hands, then proceeds to atomize the Lord of Cinder before then burning himself alive. Shama.